From time to time, I go through my Facebook friend list and perform what I call a spring cleaning. The fake profiles of bikini-clad girls I drunkenly accepted. The distant high school buddies who posted endless articles from the alt-right and far-left blogospheres. And those whom I can't remember adding in the first place all get unfriended en masse. No ceremony, no last profile views, just one little click and they're gone. The feeling that accompanies their removal is on par with the surge of contentment you get when you declutter a cramped room. Jake Lemmon was in that latter category of random add-ons gone unremembered. When I saw him on that list, there was no vague recollection or a, hey, that face looks familiar. As far as I could recall, I'd never even seen his name or his face before. His profile image wasn't a casual selfie or even a picture with family or friends. Instead, it looked like a studio portrait, the kind with fake backdrops and excessive lighting. He looked to be in his 20s or early 30s and had short, dirty blonde hair combed to the side. His eyes were like the eyes of someone who had stayed up a week but was still amped on way too much caffeine. His toothy smile was even more off-putting. It was unnaturally big with a touch of desperation. If someone put a gun to your head and said, "Smile wide or I'll shoot," you would probably be smiling like Jake Lemmon. I didn't have time to think too long or hard. I clicked that damn unfriend button in a record time and felt much relieved when his unnatural nervous energy-brimming face disappeared from my list of friends. Obviously, if that was that, then I wouldn't even remember the name Jake Lemmon today. But that wasn't that. A week passed and I was mindlessly scrolling through my newsfeed the day the figurative snowballs started rolling down the hill, careening toward me. It began like far too many real-life horror stories do with an instant message. My phone alerted me that I had a new chat request from Jake Lemmon, the name I had already forgotten. But when I looked at the chat screen and saw that ghostly profile picture with exaggerated forced smile, my stomach warbled just a little. Jake Lemmon? Hi. Since Messenger is a tattletale about when a message is seen, I knew that he knew I had seen what he had sent to me. I saw it, and with slight trepidation, I responded, "Hello. Hey, I never got a chance to say hello. Then I saw you unfriended me. Did I do something wrong?" The question sort of put me on the spot. While initially I zeroed in on his name to one friend because I didn't recognize it, it was the creeped out feeling that I got, looking at his face that made it such a relief to be rid of him. I couldn't say that though. I didn't even know the guy and owed him no explanation. And so I responded, "No, not at all, man. You're good. I just don't know you is all." And I was going through my list anyway. It's not personal. And then he responded, "That's great to know," with a smiley face. I got a notification no more than 3 seconds after he sent that last message. Now, I don't check instantly each time I get one. I have a real life and I try not to get too wrapped up in Facebook. But the second the notification appeared, I instinctively knew what it was, and I was right. New friend request from Jake Lemmon. I looked at the screen a bit unsure what to do. I know that sounds ridiculous. The right thing to do would have been to deny it and block his chat right there. But a part of me felt that doing that would have been rude now that he had messaged. Sort of like saying, "I don't like you or think you're worth knowing," to someone's face. Well, not quite that blunt, but in the same ballpark. And then he messaged again. "I sent you a friend request since we now know each other. I hope I haven't overstepped my bounds." I replied, "No, that's cool, man." He responded, heart smiley face. "I'm so glad you feel that way. Friends make the world go round, you know." Now, I was getting some seriously creepy vibes, but I also felt a little bad for him. He was obviously very strange, and I imagined he didn't have many real friends. A judgmental conclusion? Sure. But from even the short and awkward back and forth, I felt it was probably the right one. If throwing him a bone and accepting his request gave him some contentment, it wouldn't be the end of the world if we were Facebook friends. And so I replied, cool. I got to go, Jake. Work. Nice to meet you, though. Nice to meet you, Kevin. Talk to you later. I was relieved to be done with the forced conversation, and those emojis only heightened the unnerving feeling that chat gave, but I still felt some strange obligation. I cycled back to the friend request screen and re-accepted Jake Lemon as a friend. And now you're probably thinking, this was a big mistake. And you wouldn't be wrong. Like I said earlier, I'm not one of those types who live on Facebook. And when I want to message a friend, I do it through old-fashioned texting. I pretty much only had the Messenger app because my girlfriend, Joy, preferred it for sending me text videos in a world of stupid animal memes that were supposed to make me go, but really only made me groan. So the next day when I found out she was cheating on me, I had no desire to read her litany of apologies or tearful pleading. I disabled the app. I won't go into that story. I owe her just a tiny bit of respect. But I maintained my strength of will for 7 days, which really is a feat considering the fact that I'm pathetic. Eventually, though, my resolve broke. I didn't want to call. I wasn't ready to hear her voice just yet, but a message would work. I re-enabled the app and saw that I had several missed messages from 2 friends. One was Doy Strauss and the other from Jake Lemon. I ignored his and I opened chat window. Now, I won't bore you with the details. Suffice to say, she gravelled hard and I was likely beyond transparent and playing it cool. We were to meet the next night and I told her I would have to take it one day at a time. After I finished talking with her, I opened up the other dialogue. The string of messages made me very uncomfortable. Every one of these was from Jake Lemon. Hi, message received 7 days ago. Hello, message received 7 days ago. Hi, message received 6 days ago. What are you doing? Heart emoji received 5 days ago. Are you mad at me? Message received 4 days ago. Hi, Kevin. Message received 3 days ago. I just baked a cake and I dedicate it to all my friends who can't eat it with me anymore. Message received 2 days ago. Where'd you go, Kevin? I thought we were friends. Message received yesterday. It appears that maybe you didn't really mean it when you said we could be best friends, but I meant it. And friends don't give up on other friends. I just made a gift for you. I can't wait to give it to you. Smiley face emoji. And that message was received 5 hours ago. Now, 3 things stuck out to me immediately. 1, this guy had no conception of boundaries whatsoever. 2, he had 0 social skills and was probably much lonelier than I thought at first. And 3, he wasn't just creepy. He was a little scary. I made up my mind in that moment to give Jake Lemon the cleansing treatment for the second and final time. But naturally, just as I was making my way to delete him from my life, I got a phone call from Di. She apparently interrupted, one day at a time, as an open invitation to continue on as if nothing had ever happened and wanted to talk about all the cute noises her dog was making. 2 hours later, when I hung up the phone, I had again forgotten about my new best friend, Jake Lemon. The next day was uneventful and routine. I worked 4 hours, shoveled some food in my mouth at lunch, worked 4 more, came home, watched TV, took a shower, and got dressed for my date with Di at Dolce Vita Italian restaurant. It was an okay outing, and I could have taken her home and not slept alone that night, but the pain of her infidelity was still very raw. I came home alone instead, takeout bag in hand. It wasn't until noon the next day that I was forced to remember Jake Lemon. I could be a late riser on the weekends. What woke me was the sound of Facebook's chime coming from my phone. I had 2 notifications, and just like before, I already had a suspicion of who was at the heart of them. That's right, I said to myself. Time to get rid of you, isn't it? Before I made to do that, however, I clicked on the notification tab. I was fully expecting some lightweight creepiness from Jake, but I drastically underestimated him. The notification was a tag profile post. Jake Lemon is in Columbus, Ohio with Kevin Wiltshire. My breath caught in my throat, and I think my heart missed a beat when I read this. You see, my profile had false information about where I lived. According to my profile, I lived in Seattle, Washington, a world away from my real home city of Columbus. The status update was accompanied by a picture of a road sign saying, "Ohio welcomes you." My mind began to rationalize after those first few seconds. He probably saw my friends commenting on my post, realized that they were all local to Columbus, and made the basic connection, I thought. But that picture of the road sign, no, this is a message. He said he was going to give me something. And now I see this. And just like that, my heart was beginning to quicken its beat. If the first notification put ice into my veins, the second one absolutely froze me solid. Jake Lemon is at Vita Dolce with Kevin Wiltshire. And this time the picture wasn't some vaguely menacing street sign. It was a grainy picture of Doy and I seated at her table shot through the outside window. It was a goddamn photo of us both. I felt a mixture of surreal detachment and horror-induced panic with a sprinkle of righteous anger. It was time to phone the police. I honestly didn't think anything would come of it, but when a person is tracking you down and sending you photographs of yourself and your girlfriend saying get lost, it's kind of a neutered response. I called 911 and I explained everything to the on-duty officer I spoke to after being connected to the police department. I even sent him profile links via email as I spoke to him. His name was Foster. I didn't think of him much at the time, Mr. Bilt. Officer Foster said, "We don't take stalking lightly or any crime for that matter. Unfortunately, the information which you had given doesn't quite rise to that level." "This Mr. Layman Lemon," I corrected, not liking where this was going. "Right, Lemon?" From your account, this Mr. Layman was breaking no laws. He has the right to travel to wherever he wants and to take photos of public places. The tagged photos do give alarm on a personal level, and I believe that his actions are in line with typical stalker behavior, but it doesn't reach the criminal threshold yet. I was exasperated. What you need to do, Mr. Bilcher, is remove this Lemon guy from your personal network and send him a message stating that any further communication from him is not welcome. Now, this is important because if he continues to message you, it reinforces your case should this escalate. Aside from that, keep your eyes open and call us at the first sight of anything. What do you think I'm going to do now? I thought to myself in anger and frustration that I had to swallow on the phone line. Now, rational person would have probably taken the officer's advice, but I needed to keep my eye out on what Jake was up to. I opened up my Facebook app and pulled up his profile, not to unfriend, but to look around. I kicked myself for having not done so already, but better late than never. Jake Lemon had only the one profile picture, and although his profiles showed multiple photo albums, they must have had restricted access because each album failed to pull up a single pic. He also had 2 viewable status updates. The tagged ones, there was virtually nothing in his About section except for his home state, which was Michigan. Nothing came up under his Friends tab. Either he had none besides me or that information had been hidden. Jesus Christ, I said to myself, you friended a goddamn ghost. I didn't have time to kick myself for stupidity. Whatever helpful information I needed to obtain needed to be figured out right away. I mean, the underscore was already in town, and it was a foregone conclusion in my mind that he was well aware of where I lived. A message notification popped up on my phone. New message from Jake Lemon. I quickly cycled to it. Hi. I cycled back quickly, having another idea. I went to Google and typed Jake Lemon, Michigan. But I was inundated with thousands of results that I didn't have time to sift through. What I needed was a face. I went back to Facebook and typed in his name again. This time filtering the results only to Michigan. There was over 100 hits, but the profile pics allowed me to breeze down the list. What I was hoping for was that at some prior time, Jake had another account, one that yielded more information than I could possibly use against him and to protect myself. New message from Jake Lemon. I can't wait to see you. Heart emoji. I quickened my pace but found nothing. I felt helpless. I knew he was closing in, and right now I needed something. Anything. I typed Jake Lemon, Jake Lemons. Jacob Lemons. Nothing, nothing, nothing at all. I was running in circles and feeling more desperate by the second. He messaged again. When you see me, I know I'm going to make you smile. Layman. The officer's mispronunciation repeated in my head, so I typed in Jake Layman. None of those listed with his name bore any resemblance to Jake's profile photo, but I did see something near the bottom that caught my eye. Towards the bottom of the list, the results always show profiles that don't quite match your query, but are close. 2 names up from the last, I saw Jacob Lemon from Kalamazoo. I paused. There was no forced monstrous smile. There were no crazed wide-open eyes, but the picture I saw was undoubtedly Jake Lemon, a Jake you might see in some alternate universe where he's just some normal-looking guy. He even had a hint of cockiness to his effect. I was getting new messages, but was so entranced I ignored them. I clicked the profile. Jake Lemon's last post was over a year ago. It was a picture of him holding a beer in one hand and pointing to it with the other while making a goofy face. It had over 200 comments. I will miss you. The world just got a bit darker. The first one said, I don't even have words. Read the second. Rest in peace, buddy. Read the third. You see, those messages went on and on like this, and I was beyond feeling in that moment. I was in machine mode. I went back to Google and typed in Jake Lemon, Kalamazoo, dead, but I already had the puzzle put together in my head. The top result was a news article written about how the body of Jake Lemon, age 27, had been found September 9th, 2013 at 6:15 a.m. in the empty parking lot of a local grocery store. The article went on stating that his body showed signs of extreme torture. Lemon had been missing for 3 months, and his time of death was roughly a few hours before he was found. And just as chilling, the words bad friend were carved onto his chest. The marks consistent with claw incision. With a blank face, blank mind, blank feeling in general, I just sat for seconds that passed like minutes. The terror and the surreal nature of the situation had hit epical proportions, and my body responded by turning everything off. Even after the notification sound alerted me again, all I could do was sit there immobile. Boom, my front door came crashing in. I jumped straight into the air just like a cartoon character. Before I could even respond, a figure came through its now open space, but it wasn't Jake or whatever his real name was. It was a police officer. With his gun drawn in ready pose, he gave me a quick nod and proceeded further inside. 2 other officers closed behind. They quickly searched my house, but there was no figurative monsters lurking in the corners. When the search was over, the officer sat me down. The policeman turned out to be none other than Officer Foster. I told you on the phone that I believed you, Kevin, and I didn't feel right letting you just wait there like some bug on its back. Foster said, I called Officers Philip and Sylvia in to watch your house, and I looked into that profile link that you sent me. I recognized the victim. Every Midwest cop worth his salt knows about the Godam Lemon case. I'm just glad we got to you before it was too late. I asked him if he needed my phone for evidence, but he said they could just pull up the Facebook conversation records from their end. I don't know why, but I activated the phone screen while he spoke to me, and I had 2 unseen messages, both from Jake Lemon. Daddy's hair smells really nice, like cotton candy. She kept crying, but I made her smile real quick. She says she be my friend, and you know what's better than 2 best friends? 3. Another. I thought you were my best friend. I was going to make you smile, but you called the police. They can't see me, but I could see them. I guess we'll have to hang out later. I was going to give you this. There was an image attachment. I didn't notice, but Foster had pulled up behind my shoulder while I tranced out reading the message. He was saying something urgently over his walkie-talkie, but I didn't hear anything. The attachment was a drawing. On the left was a depiction of me detailed down to the barely noticeable scar that ran along the cleft of my lip. Only I didn't smile like that, and my eyes in the picture resembled saucers more than anything natural. The figure on the left was far more crude and looked as if a child had drawn it. There were no definite lines, just a scribbled and strangely proportioned humanoid shape with long, arcing talon-shaped fingers, a pair of gigantic eyes, and a zigzag smile that encompassed half of its head. Now, it's been 2 years since that day. I was monitored by the police for about 6 months before they finally stopped. Due well, she was presumed dead quite some time ago, and I honestly hold no hope of her ever resurfacing. It took a while, but normally had crept back into my life, and it's become more and more rare that I ever think about Jake Wayman. That was until today. I'm writing this all out right now for the world, just in case I wind up disappearing. Earlier this afternoon, I received a friend request from someone called Kevin Pilchard. He has no profile photo just yet,